True story. I'll talk about it later.
Hello, my name is Balatro. I'm a close friend of Jimbo. My trait is to reach nymph. If I had a child, I'd name him Full House, and if I had two, I'll call them Double Impaired. Balatro's the greatest game of all time. That's it, I said it, and throwing bricks at me head ain't gonna change my mind. So please stop. What's that you say? Did you think that Balatro isn't the best game of all time? Don't worry, puppy. Not all of us can have good taste. What's with all this cocksucking to this game? Don't worry, I'll explain it later. Describing this crap's gameplay is tricky. But I think the best way to explain it is
Let's go gambling! Wake up!
Nigga, what?
playing Balatro is like playing Five Nights at Freddy's, but instead of surviving, your goal is to commit tax evasion. And the animatronics are the IRS, politely asking you why haven't you declared a 21% tax on those $10 to the $308 in cash you just earned. By the way, that number looks like this. Oh, and this is the 21% the IRS wants me to pay. For those unfamiliar with Balatro's gameplay loop, it's like mixing solitaire with poker.
Then 4 pounds of Balatro.
Basically, you play poker hands, you know, the usual ones. And your goal is to reach a certain amount of points. For example, in level 1, you have to reach 100 points. In level 8, you have to reach 100,000 points. And in the rest of the infinite levels, you can't reach an infinite amount of points because it would be pretty difficult for a single developer to create a warp drive for basically what it is a fent. Where's the fun, you might ask? It's in the jokers. No, not that joker, but the 150 possible jokers you can buy, featuring all kinds of effects, ranging from simple things like giving you multipliers or chips just because, to more intricate mechanics like giving you multipliers for each Fibonacci sequence number you have in your hand, all the way to things that straight up break the game, or things that makes you question your sexuality. And if you add planet cards to this, which boost the base score of each poker hand, or tarot cards, which grant you unique advantages to your decks. What? To your deck. Like copy-pasting cards, or being able for a card to score twice, or changing any suit of any card in the deck. And spectral cards, which are basically tarot cards doing burpees. You get a virtually flawless game with infinite replayability. Tell me about it. Okay girl, that's great, but aren't you gonna fucking explain the title of this video? Calm down, my love, calm down. We'll get into that. This game came out in Febrero de 2024. And I started playing it that very month, thanks to this Eurogamer Spain video, to whom I sent a great shout out. And honestly, the game caught my eye. I tried it for an hour and a half or so, and I said, yeah, okay, this game is good and all that, but nothing special. So I refunded it, but a few weeks later, curiosity got the better of me and bought it again. And that's where my descent to the darkest and most abject corners of my own mind began.
¿Y quién coño es Fede?
From that day on, my life became waking up in the morning to go to work, thinking about Balatro the entire time I was working, getting home, opening a nice cold can of Rockstar, playing Balatro all afternoon, only stopping occasionally to use the bathroom or smoke a cigar, opening another can, playing until 1 AM, opening another can then, playing until 4 or 5 AM, going to sleep when my body couldn't take it anymore, and getting up at 8 AM to go back to work. And that was my routine. For a year and a half. And you might be asking yourself, hey, don't you think that if you got so addicted to Balatro, maybe it's because Balatro is dangerously addictive? And I'd say no.
Well, yes.
Balatro is extremely fucking addictive. But I assure you, I wouldn't have played even 20% of the hours I played if it weren't because my mind needed it. I only played Balatro because while playing, I was not left alone with my own thoughts. It was the only way I had to not suffer. every fucking second my mind was not concentrated on that shit, it amused itself, reminding me how miserable, disgusting, and ugly I was. So my reptilian brain kept me glued to the fucking screen 24/7, yay! During that year and a half, the only umbilical cord I had with reality was one of the 2 girlfriends I had in that period. One of them. Because the other one... If this video gets a huge amount of likes, maybe I'll tell you that story because, dear God, she was the only one who could make me step out of my routine and not spend 24/7 ruminating self-destructive thoughts. Back then, I didn't feel those thoughts were the famous gender dysphoria, and now I feel it because I feel its absence. A trans person without gender dysphoria is like Nietzsche's Übermensch, and a trans person with gender dysphoria is a pathetic bundle of pulsating viscera dragging itself around, looking for a reason to live, having no mouth, and wanting to scream. For years, I tormented myself for not knowing what the fuck was wrong with me, asking me why if I had a girlfriend, my own car, money, and a good job, I could not be happy, as miserable as I was without all those things. Looking at myself naked in the mirror, and crying uncontrollably at what I saw. I weighed over 236 pounds, but I lost some weight and still cried. Grew a beard and still cried. Changed my clothing style and still cried. I wonder what the point of living was, because no matter what I did, I was not able to get out of that dark pit of self-sabotage I was trapped in. But one day, watching reels on Instagram, which by the way were almost entirely videos about trans girls or transgenderism, which was a pretty obvious hint I decided to systematically ignore. One of those girls posted a video doing a trans test, and when I realized all my answers were yes, I started to worry a bit. If there was a button that if pressed would turn you into, I gave a resounding yes before she even finished asking the question, there was no room left for doubt. From that day on, I cracked the shell and started my transition. In the early hours of November 1st, 2025, right in the middle of Halloween party, to where I went dressed as Arthur Morgan for some reason.
I'm dying, sister. I got TB. I got it. Beating a man to death for a few bucks.
And from that day on, my life started getting better. I stopped playing Balatro. I started to lose weight for real, to this day that I have lost more than 50 pounds. I've learned how to dress, kind of. I learned how to do my makeup, kind of, and trained my voice quite a bit. And I started even taking estrogen a month ago. Two people have existed within my body. One of them lived for 23 years and was fucking miserable every single moment he was forced to deal with his fucking thoughts. And another one who isn't even a year old, but is the happiest ever, with each day being happier than the last. Living life with the excitement and curiosity of a young child with everything left to discover. And if this second person is here, telling you about all this, it's because of over time, I've come to understand my situation, but back then I wasn't aware at all. I just want my suffering to stop, but it hadn't stopped for 2 decades and I was starting to lose faith. So if it weren't for my addiction to Balatro, it's very likely I would have ended myself. It's the only thing that kept me sane when the rain clouds were at their worst and it didn't look like ever going to stop. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Local Funk, because you don't know me, but you saved my life. And I think I will never be able to repay the debt that I owe you. Damn, the end of the video turned out so fucking corny. Hey, you put on some dogs fucking...